Hello, once again, viewers. We are happy to have you here on MTN Business. And of course, we're looking at how you can be supported as a business person, especially. This particular property is dedicated to you, Ugandan or a non-Ugandan who has operations in this market and are interested in doing business and most importantly, rhyme with the times. Of course, the times we're talking about today is we're looking at digital, we're looking at e-commerce. You know, we are looking at that shift from the physical transactions to what one might call virtual transactions. And in between, you have enablers, and that's where MTN sits. And it is for that particular reason that we have these interactions, we have these discussions to open your mind, you know, to more opportunities and also to the mechanics on how you can fit into the grand scheme of things digital. Today, we have a very interesting topic and we are tackling the transition to cashless transactions in business. We know that one of the most important aspect or element, you know, for a transaction to be complete is payment. And if you're talking about online transactions or e-commerce, yes, there could be that interaction between the customer and the buyer, but then the glue that puts them together is the money. And cashless transactions, therefore, become a very important aspect in all matters e-commerce. Now, in the house today, I have, you know, a very solid person in this space. Is the ICT Service Delivery Manager, MoMo. We know power is a very important factor of production, and therefore, I mean, it is one thing that almost every business operation requires. And payments today, I think, for electricity, I think is one of the players that has already made the transition to actually make it easy for people to make the payments cashless. But let me introduce Nelson Bagenda. Nelson, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
And I think at this moment you can greet our audience. We have a number of people watching us online. We appreciate you, both from Uganda and abroad.
Greetings, and I'm pleased to be here, talk about a subject that I'm very, very passionate about, and something that really has transformed the business as MoMo. So I'm looking forward to this engagement. Thank you.
Very good. Now, we're talking about that transition. Because, I mean, you know, previously this economy took a while to adopt what you call cashless transactions. I remember at some point there was a discussion that let's introduce, you know, credit cards in this market, or cards at least, so that people can make transactions. That was a hard thing. We're used to paper money. And then at some point, someone is talking about not even the cards, but literally virtual cashless transactions. You know better. You're the expert. Are you seeing, you know, that adoption? Really, are you seeing a smooth transition towards, you know, the adoption of such cashless transactions?
Very, very exciting question. As I spent quite a bit of time in Europe, and when I came back, as I said, I was used to the credit card cashless operations, and not necessarily the mobile money, virtual space kind of things. And when I joined MoMo, obviously, we were, all our offices, all our centers around the country are receiving cash. And there are two issues here. One is obviously the trust on the part of the customer, feeling that when I pay for something, I'm actually going to receive whatever I've paid for.
Yes.
And then the business on the other side, thinking we're used to receiving money before we release whatever item it is. In our case, it's power. So what happens if we release this power sale units and we don't get paid? So the transition had to address those two issues. The customer, on the other hand, is paying for something they've not literally received or may not have, and then the business that is expecting to at times release a commodity before the payment. Ours was an exciting journey, which obviously as a business had risks, challenges, and at times even fear. What will happen if we close our cash collection centers and our customers walk away? in terms of payments. We're a cash-thirsty business,
Yeah.
and we need money to, to run our operations. So, on top of collecting on behalf of the entire sector, transmission and generation. So, we had to address, and we went into a pilot, and straight away realized that our customers had actually moved ahead of us. 70% of our customers already using online channels, banks, mobile money, and third-party vendors. So we went into that space and said cautiously, but quickly realized that it was the right thing to do. The board, the management had voted to move in that direction. And I said the rewards and benefits have been enormous, and we'll talk about those maybe as we progress. So I think for me the two things that need to be addressed is the confidence from a customer's point of view, that whatever they're paying for virtually is going to be received, and if there's a defect or there's a problem, that they'll get refunded or there'll be some kind of recourse. But also from the business, that whatever we're releasing, in this case power, is going to be paid for, and that payment is not going to be recalled. It's not going to, in the credit card space, there's a lot of control. You can pay for something and cancel, and I think that is what was lacking. I know a lot of work has gone in into that space to create that confidence, and I think the future is bright in as far as cashless payments are concerned.
I hear you. That's a good one. I think the other thing maybe you could look at, because you talk about the confidence, it's a very important aspect. And you are MoMo, actually, so you're a big company. And I'm looking at an SME who is watching us, and is probably saying, given the times, it's actually time to go cashless. What was your experience like in trying to build that confidence? That someone can actually take lessons, that these are the things I need to do to build confidence in my clientele, or my suppliers, as we shift online.
So as I said, there are two elements. As far as the customers are concerned, data showed that our customers had actually already taken those steps. It's 2015 when we made the decision. Yeah. But from a customer's point of view, I mean, the fact is customers are already paying using, so now it is the business, and that's what I'll talk to.
So you're playing catch up in a way.
We're playing catch up. So from the business side of things, there are things you need to consider, and you can't run away from them. One is the people. We always look at technology and processes and forget that the actual people who are receiving money, who for one reason or another may feel that they're not going to be part of that process, that journey, the transformation. So you need to, from our side, we quickly reached out to the staff and said, nobody is going to lose a job. You need to join us and work with us and support this journey, which was
because there's always that fear that once you go vacuum and everything, I mean, the number of people that are going to it. But
so many opportunities were created. So that's number one. Number two is you need to think about the technology, your own internal technology. Yeah. And things like security, things like systems, availability, etc. If you're going to receive all your payments, like in the case of MoMo online, then your systems must be secure. They must be available 24/7. So you need, again, another group of staff in the technology space, updating management of new risks, and you need to address those.
I hear you. And I see two elements there which we'll come back to. The element of reliability, and then, of course, managing the risks that can be associated with that. Okay, at this point, I'll move to Stephen. Stephen Motana is the General Manager, Mobile Finance Services, MTN Uganda. Like, of course, we said at the beginning, in the preamble, that you have the customer on one side, and then you have the supply of goods or services on the other, and in between there you need a facilitator, and this is where MTN comes in, to provide the services, to provide the tools or the platform that can enable the two to actually transact and bring together that glue. Stephen, what can you tell us about that transition that the market is making to cashless business or transactions, and where does MTN sit in this equation?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Moses. It was great listening to your contribution. I just want to take us back a few years. So we've always been about transformation as MTN. Many years ago, when we were coming into the market, when voice was the issue to be transformed, remember at the time it was about voice was on landlines. So in our markets, we grasped this technology called mobile telephony, and there are so many people who never used a landline, and they then had a mobile phone. Okay, that was a leapfrogging in transformation. Moses has talked about cards, debit cards, credit cards. Though if you go back 5-10 years ago, it was such a hindrance. People were thinking, how do people get to pay? But they're not banked. They don't have these credit or debit cards. And then suddenly mobile money comes along, and now it's like that leapfrogging. Just like people didn't use landlines and leapfrog to mobile, mobile money is that platform that allows them to leapfrog debit cards, credit cards, because they literally get the same benefit. Okay, so and this sits well with MTN's belief that everyone deserves the benefits of a modern connected life. People shouldn't be excluded because of certain aspects. The technology where we are driving is about inclusion. The other bit I would like to talk about is we could never have done this without MoMo. And why do I say that? When you're doing a transformation, you need a key catalyst that drives adoption. So you remember when we started out with mobile money, the first use case was I send money to someone. So I send some money to someone in the village. I solve that problem of distance. The second use case was, okay, so what else can I do that matters in my life with this thing called mobile money? And hence, paying your bills, and especially your MoMo bills, was such a critical thing.
Because it is cross-cutting.
It's cross-cutting. It's in everybody's life, okay? And it's about convenience. It's about safety. It's about security. And we will always be very grateful to MoMo that they got it and they drove it. And as a result, we suddenly got so many people onto this platform or this community called mobile money. So we really thank MoMo as a key partner. Now, in terms of what you've, and that drives me to what you've asked, the digitization of payments. Our first few years was around digitization of people's interactions. Now we're talking about digitization of business, and it has been accelerated by the COVID-19 situation. And by this, we've, the world has been put in a position where it has realized that your life has to continue even when your movements may be restricted, and restricted due to health concerns. So we've suddenly got what we call a black swan event, something we never expected, something we never put in our scenario planning, that suddenly transforms people to do things at a distance, do things remotely. So, and people are changing. That's the other thing. Customers are changing. They realize that they can actually do things without having to move into the physical space to do those things. I can actually browse an e-commerce site. I can choose what I want, and I can place an order and pay for it, and it can get delivered. Okay? Suddenly, a business model of a person on Loom Street who was selling gourmetsies or selling jewelry is challenged, because initially they thought people would come to them. But now they realize they can actually be hosted on a marketplace where they can have all their goods, and at the click of a button, somebody can actually order and pay for something. And that is the essence of business. So it works for both the customer and the entity. So the whole COVID-19 situation has been a catalyst, as unfortunate as it is, in terms of the pain and the human suffering it has caused. It's been a huge catalyst in the transformation to digital. And I promise you, in the next 2 to 3 years, we are really going to have very, very different businesses to what we have today.
I hear you.
Yes.
I hear you. I think that's a good one. I'll come back to you, but Mr. Bagend, on this. You know, from where you sit, do you look at this as, you know, an opportunity expander, or one that is left with, again, limitations to other businesses or others? In other words, are we seeing the business community really responding and smelling the coffee and saying, here's an opportunity, let's run with it, and not focus so much on a lamentation, like what Stephen was saying, about the impact that COVID has brought to us? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me just set maybe one or two things. In the IT world, IT space, and I think in business transformation, as Stephen was saying, we talk about the Kodak moment.
Okay.
You know, that moment when you didn't realize time had come to move or to transform. Today, we talk about the Uber moment.
Yeah.
And the Uber moment is really that moment when there's a digital opportunity. And you keep thinking this is one of those things that's going to come and go. The best example people normally use are those glasses that had wipers, which were introduced before many people were born. I wanted to realize that to use them, you had to walk out in the rain. The Uber moment is a business failing to realize the amount of potential that the digital world provides, and failing to take an opportunity, and then your competitor goes ahead of you. As I said, for us, it was really a journey that was inspired by our current MD. He was very, very passionate about cash. We had so many issues, but he wanted to focus on service delivery. What we do best, serving our customers, not collecting money. We need the money, but someone else is better at collecting it. So we were pushed in a direction because of strategy.
To focus on your core.
To focus on our core and to remove all those other things that distract us. We had to close offices at 4 because people had all those other processes that are involved when you collect money, closing books and blah. Now we can open offices. We can do many other things. And talking about the marriage with telecoms and particularly MTN, I remember when we started, we reached out to the telecoms, in particular MTN and the others, and asked them to come and position themselves outside our centers. Again, to cause confidence, because when someone sees, when you go and you're paying for something and someone is seated there as an agent, he gets a bit confident. That's the cultural aspect that you need to deal with. It gave us an opportunity. We had people that were moving miles to go and make payments that were not even worth the bill, were not proportionate to the bill that was being paid. Now, all of a sudden, those guys could have power and use it conveniently. So businesses that don't transform will die. It is as simple as that. It is when you choose how fast you can transform. Because our customers, as I've said, had moved on. They were using online platforms, they were using mobile money. As a business, we were slightly behind, but at least we caught up very quickly. And everything we're doing now is digital. We're now pushing for online connections and that kind of thing, so that we concentrate on what we do best. Distributing power and serving our customers, as opposed to, doing things that people like Stephen here do every day, and definitely will do much better than us. So that is where the business is going, and that's where the world is going.
Good. Viewers, again, I need to remind you, we are looking at the transition, to cashless transactions. Of course, conditioned not just by COVID, because I think COVID found its revolution already in motion.
Indeed.
You could just say it's a catalyst, like you rightly put it at the beginning. So I have Ruben Majestic, George Bishop, Odong, and all the others that are watching us. We thank you, and keep watching. We still have a lot in stock with you. Again, like we said, we are tackling that very important aspect for businesses. And I think this question will come to you, Stephen. I have Moses Muhinda here. He's wondering, is MTN considering developing official MoMo plugins for their MoMo developer API for standard e-commerce platforms, such as WordPress, Magento to enable simplicity of new customers, adding MoMo features on their websites.
Okay, thank you very much. So in terms of plugins into especially or what I would call the APIs into mobile money, we are very, very passionate about this because we know that this not only improves accessibility, okay, but it also helps tap into entrepreneurs out there who would like to evolve their services and transform their businesses, as Moses has pointed out. So that leads me to OpenAPI, which is a platform we've had, I think it's coming to 2 years, maybe just slightly over 2 years. We've got 2 APIs on there at the moment. We've got a collections API and a payments API that entities can plug into. We are also planning to load other APIs, especially in 2021, APIs that will expand the breadth of what people can offer and do in terms of plugging into MoMo. Now, it's not enough to have these APIs, and we've realized it because we're in the game to transform. We're in the game to scale. It's not enough to have those APIs. It's also important that you develop a community of support, a community of encouragement and of knowledge around these APIs, because we're not only doing it for the experts, okay, but we're also doing it for the young developers who are trying to cut their teeth.
And Stephen, on that note,
Yes.
because since we are talking to the masses out there,
Yeah.
if you can, break it down a bit, what we mean by the APIs and
Okay.
how important they are. I mean, ways
Okay.
the businessman in this equation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So APIs, application programming interfaces. It's just technology that allows computers to talk to each other. Just like in the example of that question where somebody was asking how they could, off their website, interconnect for people to be able to do maybe payments off that website. So you usually use what they call an API, which is basically one computer talking to another in order to fulfill a certain function. It could be to pay or it could be to collect. But there's so many types of language these computers or functions these computers can speak to with each other. So next year we are loading more of these functionalities onto the MTN Open API. But as I was saying, it's not enough to just have these functionalities in place. You also need to encourage people to use them. Sometimes technology can be very scary.
Yeah.
How do you start? How do I get to know the programming language?
Yeah.
How do I get to, because the beauty about API is that they've standardized certain things. You don't have to create. You just pick and then utilize. It makes it faster for you to deliver your service, but also most important, you don't have to recreate. So we've created a community, a WhatsApp community, a group around where you have people who are more experienced, who mentor the younger ones. And what we are trying to achieve there is that everyone should have an opportunity.
Yes.
A young developer should have an opportunity to bring an idea to life.
Yes.
That's why we put these platforms, okay? So that is a very big one, of MTN Open API. There is one that MTN Group has just launched. It's much bigger. It's called Chinosis. Again, it's bringing not only just MTN APIs, but it's bringing many other types of APIs.
Okay.
Basically, it's a one-stop shop where if you have a digital business, you can actually go and pick different types of enablement that allows you to bring your idea to life. Some of it may even be, where are people located?
Okay.
Because it may be very important to your business solution. Maybe you're an advertising person. You need to know where people are located in order for you to then move to your next stage of trying to monetize. So most of these functionalities will be available in Chinosis. But for MTN Uganda, I think the big one is Open API.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Then, before I leave you and coming back to Nelson, there's the aspect of reliability in all this. Very, very important. Because remember, one of the things that, of course, vacuum transactions take away from us is this interpersonal, physical meeting. Therefore, we have faith in the system that it will deliver what is promised. So in terms of reliability, what kind of confidence can you give to an SME down there at the grassroots that actually if they prompt a transaction or they've started this and that or anchor their business operation onto what we're talking about, vacuum space, it will be there today, tomorrow, and the other day and deliver the promises?
Okay. That's a wonderful question, and I think I'll just try and broaden it in terms of a business owner who's trying to digitize their business.
Yeah.
Reliability actually speaks to trust. It speaks to trust. Because the minute you're digitizing your business, it means you are depending on a partner like MTN to basically not only enable you to either collect or for payments to be made, but also keep records. Yes. I'll flip back to the consumer part of the business briefly. Many people, I don't know if they realize it, but they all have mobile money statements. And they can actually, if they wanted to, they can actually ask for statements for the past week, for the past month, for the past quarter, for the past year. They're available. And to the T, they will show you every single transaction that you made, including whatever messages you included with that transaction. So many people have been pleasantly surprised that they were able to get even 3 years of their entire life, and they could actually see it and remember, So, and that's the beauty of digitization, is that it leaves you with a record. So, let me talk about an SME. An basically for any business, people need to pay you. Okay? If they need to pay you, most times you need to give them an invoice. So in this digitization, which is relevant for these businesses, on this very platform, they can actually raise invoices, okay? And people can pay them against those invoices, okay? And the record is there, and it will be held, okay? Secondly, some of these people collect money, okay? They collect money. So they raise an invoice, somebody pays, that's a collection. Sometimes they have to pay suppliers, okay? There's a record, because you put in the fields, what are you paying for, why? You have to pay suppliers. We've also, looking at what business owners require. Business owners require to use airtime. So for instance, in this very solution of value proposition for what I would call mobile money for business, they can actually even buy airtime for themselves, their staff, okay, or for their customers. Sometimes they may need to make payments to many people, so they can actually pick a file, it could be an Excel file or a CSV file, and upload it onto a portal, which allows them to pay. And it even allows them to check who they are paying before they pay. Am I paying Moses Bagenda? The number is there, it shows, yes, that's Moses Bagenda. Then you click, you may pay. Then it keeps a record of all successful payments made. So you can see that it's trying to automate many of the tasks that Moses was talking about around payments, where he said they would close the offices at 4 so that the people could then do reconciliations and reporting for the payments made. Now, in the solution we are creating for SMEs, which we call MoMo Business, those are already implied. They're part of the solution. So whichever payments you make, be they one at a time or a collection of them, you are able to put them in what we call bulk payments. You're able to not only have one person pay, but maybe one prepares, another checks, another approves. So there's segregation of duty. And then once as you're doing the payment, it checks, is this number the one I'm meant to pay? Is this the name of the person? Yes, then you can pay. Then a report of successful payments is run for you. What that does in that process is it has automated so many things you would probably need somebody to do as end of day business every single day. And then of course we've added things like airtime. They can buy airtime for their staff, even for customers and that kind of thing. So in this digitization, we really look at the journey of an SME. What are the pain points and what are the things that we can offer to them in the form of digitization that will make lives easier for them. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. That is quite interesting and I think good for the SMEs. But at the same time, it comes laced with some scary points as well. And again, I'll come to you, Moses, on that, because, you know, from what I pick, from what Stephen has submitted, is, you know, a number of SMEs, one of their biggest challenges has been informal operation. No books of accounts and that kind of thing. And from what Stephen is saying, I can see so many boxes ticked, including, you know, structuring operations and, you know, books of accounts, records and that kind of thing. But at the same time, we're seeing, of course, I see the auditor or the accountant being rendered, you know, I won't say the word, but how do we keep, because all these are business people and some of them are watching. Some are audit firms, others are accountants and that kind of thing. How do we, you know, adopt technology and at the same time keep most of us relevant with the times? And I'm asking you this as an expert in this space.
Thank you very much. Again, a very interesting question, but which speaks to the issue of people who can make or break some of these transformation initiatives. From our own experience, as I said, nobody lost a job. If anything, when we went digital, jobs were created. People moved from district offices to the finance department now to do reconciliations, online reconciliations. But you also know that URA is now pushing for the EFRS, where every transaction will need a digital signature of sorts. So, as I said, when you go down this journey, it puts you in a good place. Accountants will always look at these things. It just means that you've gone from paper to an electronic record, as Stephen was saying. You'll still need to go through these and reconcile them. We do, you know, a lot of reconciliation. As a business, you want to be sure that this payment that was collected by MTN is actually in the bank because I've released a token, or I've released energy worth this amount of money. So there's a lot of reconciliation that is still done by the accountants. All this does is it moves the paper away and makes it easy for you to now digitally, and the tools are now there. The two things that you need to bear in mind, again, talking about SMEs and how easy it will be to embrace. I mean, from our own experience, as I said, security is a major one. Availability and security. People need to know that these platforms are secure, and that if money is collected and they come to MTN and say, you know, according to we sold this amount of power, that MTN has an identical record, and that there's no leverage, there's no money that is growing legs, so to say. Secondly, again, as a business and as you encourage people to take up this digital journey, you can't run away from the charges, the transaction charges, and that conversation has to happen. So it has to be worthwhile for me to use the digital journey as opposed to jumping on a board and looking for, you know, the commodity. So once you do that, and once the convenience becomes, you know, cost reflective, I'm paying for something, I know there's a bit of a transaction charge, but again, if I jumped on a board or a taxi or whatever, it would, plus all the risks associated with it, then it becomes worthwhile. I think that really would enhance the journey and make it easy for SMEs to come on board.
Okay, thank you. Very important points there, Stephen. Security is a very, very critical element here, because as we all shift online or are encouraged to go online, I'm sure there are also very innovative and creative people that are waiting to take advantage of that if they haven't already. Again, how prepared is MTN, to protect, its clientele, the business person out there who is encouraged or who is already online? If you can speak to that, I'm sure, because it's also one of the questions that we keep seeing coming, people asking, how can we have, I know you're doing quite some good work there, but I think they need to hear it from you once more. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. I'll start with that discussion at a broad level, then I'll get into the detail.
Yeah.
So broadly, anything to do with, for organizations that are dealing with money, okay, the lessons the world has learned over the last few years is that they are susceptible to a lot of negative acts. Acts like terrorism. The terrorists also like using these very institutions to promulgate their objectives. Then you have money laundering. And money laundering proceeds from corruption, proceeds from, say, wildlife trafficking, etc. They get that money and they try and sanitize it by putting it in the financial system. So that's why I say broadly, we are part of that financial system as MTN. Yes. Mobile money is part of that financial system. So as a result, there is quite a lot of work and standards we work to implement, especially around money laundering, or what we call anti-money laundering. And there are a number of institutions, key like the Financial Intelligence Authority, that have oversight to us as what we would call an accountable person, MTN Uganda or mobile money. And of course, we also have our regulators. At this point in time, it's the UCC, maybe with the National Payments Act coming on board, it will be the Bank of Uganda, who then also give us standards and that we have to adopt to counter things like money laundering, what we call anti-money laundering, and CFT, countering financing of terrorism. Okay. So I think in layman's speak, we have to do everything possible to make sure that our system, the financial, of which we are part of the financial system because we have a payment system, that we don't get compromised, even as we are trying to digitize. Because digitization is good, but even the bad people try and get into the digitization. So back to your specific question around security. So we do anti-money laundering, we do countering financing of terrorism, and that means putting systems in place to monitor transactions, like suspicious transactions, because there are certain principles that we abide by to ensure that we keep the system safe. We train people, not only the people handling the system, but the staff members within the organization that is delivering these payments, to ensure that they are aware of the kind of activities these nefarious individuals could perpetuate. So within that broad ambit, and of course we get audits, we do audits, and we are also audited in terms of aligning to this. But at an operational level, within that wider ambit, we ensure that we educate the stakeholders, especially the entities that are getting digitized. We offer, we've been doing it, but I'll give you something. Just the PIN. The PIN, the safety of that PIN is so important. And as I mentioned, we moved from, we literally, mobile money enabled us kind of leapfrog debit credit cards. But even they are still harnessed by the PIN. And with the PIN comes a lot of social engineering, which you must hear of nowadays, where people try to convince you to disclose your PIN. These are the kind of activities I'm talking about, the nefarious activities. So we educate people, and I think we can do more and make it more relevant around their safety online. And businesses, we set up infrastructure that, for instance, the connectivity and communication of these businesses and the MTN mobile money system. We use security standards, world-class security standards, to ensure that we do not get these systems compromised in any way. And of course, we guide our partners on the kind of versioning of the software and the assets that they put into play when they're interconnecting with us. So it's not something that you do once, it's something you do continuously, and that will be the new normal. The minute you go digital, you have to keep up, because the wrong elements, especially when I talk about issues of cyber crime and cyber safety, they're working to beat the systems. So we have to continuously improve these systems.
I hear you. I hear you. Now I have a quick one here from Mosisi. He's saying that we have a SACCO and would like to get an official mobile money number. Please advise.
Oh, there are specific products for SACCOs. Mosisi can reach out to MTN. There's a contact center, email address. We have SACCO products, and these are some of the biggest drivers of MTN mobile money adoption. So we've actually created special products that are relevant to SACCOs in terms of them collecting members' payments and them being able to pay out and that kind of thing. So we really look forward to Mr. Mosesi's reach out. I just don't know if we have an email address for him. Perhaps we can put it
on the online at some point. Okay. All right. Moses, I'll come back to you because there's something you raised which is again touches the aspect of access. Because sometimes when we're in Kampala, we might, think or mainly believe that anyone can easily access some of these services. And the journey that Stephen is talking about is an all-inclusive journey. You also think about a farmer in, somewhere in Kabulasoke or that kind of thing. And Umeme being, providers of a service that reaches, that is cross-cutting. Again, I think Stephen alluded to it. How did you manage to bring, such a category of people on board, and what kind of reassurance can you give, again, as an expert and a service provider in that space, to an SME who's watching us, probably a young man in Arua or that kind of thing, to be part of this, not just the conversation, but, the cashless transaction that we're talking about? Yes.
I think incidentally prefer Nelson. Okay. Let me just add something small to what Stephen said, the piece around security, because it's something that is critical. Security, as he rightly said, is a journey. It is not an event. It's not something you do and sit back and think, well, now you continuously need to assess your security posture, and you do that all the time. And again, you need to keep the channels open. And I think one thing which is not happening, to the best of my knowledge, is where you've got a breach, you need to find ways of sharing that information in a secure way, not in a way that causes panic and fear. But if I've been breached and I've investigated and I know the vulnerabilities and then I keep it to myself, then you're not doing any good to this digital journey. I think we need, at a very high level, be able to share this information in a secure way that doesn't necessarily expose. So there has to be a community. It must be a way of, because these breaches are happening. We know they are happening, and unfortunately, the culture here is to try and bury them and pretend nothing happened until your neighbor falls victim. So we need to find a way of creating a forum where we, in confidence, share these breaches, share lessons, the near misses, so that we prevent them and create that confidence, because every time there's something like that, it affects all of us in this digital space. Large companies, we now, as I said, we have hospitals, we have government of Uganda that is paying through these channels billions of shillings. They need to have the confidence that, and these are smart meters, that once the payment is done, the power will automatically come on, be it a hospital, be it security deployment, installation or whatever it is. So that is critical. Security, you can't run away from it, and it speaks to the confidence, the culture, etc. And it's a journey. As far as access is concerned, we had the same fear. As I said, electricity is now everywhere, and our customers range from the likes of yourself to my grandmother and a person deep in the village. So there was that fear that will these guys be able to do these things, and we were surprised, we were amazed at how fast Ugandans learn if they're determined to do something. Of course, with support from MTN and other telecoms, you put agents around to walk people through. But once you walked them through the first, second payment, it then became automatic and easy. As I said, we went prepayment, and then as long as the person has got their token and they enter it and the power is on, then the confidence builds. So whatever they're paying for, I think for me, it is easy to spread that message if people are getting what they're paying for. You can't have situations where the system is off and the confidence is killed, and then getting it back becomes a very, very big problem. Yeah.
I hear you. Again, viewers, thank you for following the discussion. We are trying to look at that transition from to cashless transactions, and these are the issues that we are discussing or comparing notes about in this discussion. Xavier, thank you for watching. I can see you're saying this is very enlightening, given the times and the change we all need in the market currently. Well, I think someone is appreciating the fact that we are dealing with quite interesting realities today. Stephen, the issue of costs, again, I'll anchor it on accessibility and that kind of thing. Where do you think MTN stands in this, in making this, as affordable as possible, as a way of bringing on board as many people as possible?
No, thank you. That's a very, very good question. And like you mentioned, cost is about inclusion.
Yeah.
It's part of the inclusion agenda. Your costs as a business disenfranchising a major section or part of the market. That's something that any sustainable business would ask themselves, and it's part of any pricing strategy. So I think I'll start broadly just with say the consumer side of the business. So as a business, we set the tariff structure in a way that allows individuals to participate. And we take continuous feedback through market research, even through behavior. You can see it on the system, how people are behaving. So for instance, during COVID, the lockdown, when we made P2P free, we're able to study the behavior of customers across different amounts of value, or what we call the tiers. And that informed our new pricing of P2P after the lockdown, where, for instance, in the lower tiers, we made it so easy for people to come in. And perhaps in the middle to higher tiers, there was really no change in behavior. So there is the customer-driven insights in terms of the behavior. Okay. Recently, on 2nd November, we reduced our cash out charges because, again, we took feedback from customers off platforms on social media during COVID that, okay, thank you, you've reduced P2P or even made it zero, how about cash out? Okay, so we had to make a very balanced decision, because remember, those agents are paid from cash out, and we also pay them commissions for cash in, which customers actually do for free. So in terms of whatever they cash out, we have to use that money to pay agents for cash in and cash out, because the agent opens their kiosk every morning. They take risk to have that money with them, waiting for you to come and serve you. So it's one of those balanced opinions. So the charges are not just arbitrary, they are to deliver that ecosystem or that service. However, with that said, if I come specifically to businesses and the solution like MoMo business, the charging is quite different. So for instance here, most times for payments, the customers won't pay anything, just like you have for MoMo Pay. Yeah, the customer doesn't pay. The only person who pays is the business owner, and they pay a very small percentage, anywhere from 1 to 2% of what they've collected. Because number one, they're not handling cash. Number two, they don't have to take it. You know, there's a cost to handling cash. You have to take it to the bank. There's the risk of it getting, I mean, how many small businesses do you hear that at the end of the day or 3 times a week, my girl or my boy have to go to the bank and deposit? Right now, with the digitization of our business, the customer basically pays for free. We only take a small amount, maybe 1 to 2%, and then you have a free bank transfer because your business is linked to your bank account. So as an owner, you can even move the money to the bank, all within the safety, comfort of your home or your business. So the whole concept of charging is to say, what is it as a business that you are paying for a greater convenience? That's the beauty about digital. Okay. Digital, you don't pay 1 plus 1. No, you pay 1 for 10. So the benefit is 10 times, but you're paying a very small portion. And that's why, for instance, on Apple, you pay less than $1 for a song. It doesn't matter which song. But the most important thing is that they can scale it. So when we talk about digital businesses, we're talking about scale. So the pricing in a digital environment is very different from the pricing in a physical environment. In a physical, we'll try and match 1 plus 1. Here, we try and match the fact that it's almost seamless to get you the service. Hence, you pay a very small amount, but you get very big benefits.
It is scalable. Yeah. All right, thank you. I'll put the same question to you, Nelson. Because, I mean, you again, you know, offer a service that you want ideally every Ugandan to get, power. How are you handling, you know, the issue of cost, you know, so that it doesn't hit the other guy, the other side? I mean, do you feel that a Ugandan paying for power today using, you know, the cashless platforms is better off than a guy who used to work and...
Thank you very much. I'd say without a doubt, the convenience and the transaction costs put together, the feedback we are getting from our customers, including myself, because I pay using mobile money, is that it's worth it. The concern is, and the fear, is that when many of them go digital, there must be some level of comfort that all of a sudden it won't, you know, I mean, a business like ours now heavily relies on these digital channels. And again, as I said, we collect on behalf of the sector. So it's a small portion that stays behind to run operations. So when customers begin to question the cost, total cost of the transaction, we have very little room for maneuver, and that's why I brought it as one of those things, feedback, where we need to be upfront, obviously have a tariff that speaks to the different levels of people in society. We don't have a lot of flexibility in as far as the power tariff is concerned. It is determined by our regulator. But again, there are tiers, and again, you hear people saying, when you vend at the beginning of the month, you get it's cheaper, and that's far from the truth. If you could just allow me to address that, because one of the pain areas that I get, there's a tier, there's a step tariff for domestics for the tier 1 customers, and that step is for every calendar month for every calendar month. So you start in January, you'll get 15 units. They're called lifeline units at a cost of 250. And they call them different things in South Africa, but it's the same thing. So they want every person, even the less wealthy, to be able to afford at least a light or two. And here we call it the lifeline unit. And that's per calendar month. In that same calendar month, you're also supposed to pay 3,360, which is a service fee. Now, it doesn't matter whether you come on the 1st, on the 15th, on the 30th. Even better, if you didn't vend for 2 months, you would still have 30 units at 250, regardless of whether you vend on the 2nd or the 15th. So for me, one of the challenges we faced with the digital transformation is really that strain on IT and IT systems at the end of the month and during peak hours, which is 5 to 9. So I wish we would just understand. Which customers we've tried and will continue to try and educate them that it doesn't really matter. So whether you vend on the 3rd, on the 4th, on the 20th, you still get those lifeline units at 250. So please push the traffic, spread it across the month. We need the money, but spread it so you don't break our systems. Because again, the other complaint will be, I paid for a token and took, a few minutes because the strain on the systems. Everybody wants to enter that space. And again, when you're planning, you don't plan for those 2 or 3 days. It would be wastage of resources. You try and spread it out. But we're doing everything, obviously, to address the constraints and to give confidence to our customers. But again, we encourage them to vend outside those. There's nothing like if you vend during this period, you get more tokens or you get more units. It's just one of those things that are stuck and which we need to try and educate our customers.
Very good.
Thank you.
Stephen, I have Mike Ebong. He's from Gulu. Is it? Yes, Gulu is one of our ardent followers. He's been following these MTN business forums quite often. Now he's asking, he's running a border and cabs hailing company, online shopping, and soon rolling in emergency ambulance service in northern Uganda. So we want to roll in for cashless transactions. 90% of our customers are on MTN. We are requesting for 0 rating and maybe corporate partnership.
Okay, is that 0 rating perhaps on payments or collections?
Now he doesn't specify, but
yes.
I will assume yes.
Okay. So I noticed we have a WhatsApp number. If you could give it to him, the 077-212-3100. Would like to understand his proposition, because I notice he's doing so many, the emergency ambulance, I think the border online and all that. I think we need to better understand his ecosystem, and then we'll offer him what I think would be like the most efficient solution for him from a digital payments and collections perspective.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, viewers, thank you for watching and following. I see quite a number of you here with comments. I have Davis from Kasese. He's saying thanks MTN Uganda for the new program like MoMo. That is a compliment coming to you. I'm afraid we cannot unpack and go into each and every question raised. I think we've reached that point where we wrap up the interface today. And I would like to start with you, Nelson. What would be your parting shot?
Thank you very much. I think for me, based on our own journey as Omeme and the experience going through this digital transformation, I think SMEs should embrace it. I think it's something they have to do. I don't think there's a lot of option because our customers, as I said, have moved. One of the things I would encourage, and again, I don't know from a visibility point of view, a transaction visibility, one of the issues that people may have is they want real-time visibility. If I'm selling online, I need to you know, within almost that very minute, know what is coming in and, if possible, what has gone out of my account. We have a system that gives us that at Umeme. It gives confidence. People want to, they're used to having that money and holding it in their safes or drawers, wherever it is. So the visibility of it in a virtual space helps. And again, as you try and build that confidence with SMEs, I think it's something you need to consider. It's something that would help break some of, you know, the resistance and fear and anxiety. I don't think there's much option. You have to start this journey. Will there be challenges? Of course there are challenges. But I think those challenges can be overcome because big organizations like Umeme have gone down that road. Our collections, as a matter of fact, went up. All the main parameters from a utility point of view that we use to measure whether it is losses, whether it is collection, safety and everything have gone in the right direction, because, as I said, we're able to focus on what we do best as opposed to collecting money and having all these other costs associated, insurance, transit, etc., and maybe even fraud. That the temptation of having this money with all the issues, financial issues that we face. So it is the way to go. And again, as I said, where you have challenges, address those challenges. Let's have a forum where we can meet and openly discuss about some of these challenges and find ways of resolving them so that we keep this journey alive and we keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nelson. Well put indeed. Stephen.
Thank you very much. So I think I'd just like to reaffirm the belief of MTN that we believe that everyone deserves the benefits of a modern, connected life, and especially when it comes to businesses. So we are in very, very high stages of launching what we call MoMo business, okay, which is a proposition or a service around payments, collections for businesses. Okay, we're in very, very advanced stages of bringing that to market. It's been based on a lot of research, but as a learning organization, we are ready to launch it and keep on refining it as we take feedback from our customers. The other thing that we're also doing is what we call a marketplace. We're also going to launch a marketplace in the very near future, which basically means not everyone has to launch their own e-commerce platform. Not everyone has to launch their own website. We'll put it there and we'll make it easy for them to put up their products and services. Because what we're doing is we're trying to make it easier for people to transform to digital, okay, and to digitize their operations. That all said and done, the other bit is our commitment to moving the journey of transformation with these businesses. So there will be a lot of training. I believe MTN Business launched a training initiative 2 or 3 weeks ago. There will be a lot of that. Yes.
Thank you very much. That's Stephen Mutana. He's the General Manager, Mobile Financial Services, MTN Uganda. And Nelson Bagenda, thank you very much. ICT Service Delivery Manager, Umeme.
My title changed recently.
Okay.
After the invitation, I'm actually the CIO designate.
CIO designate. Very, very important. We amend that. It's been a very good discussion, and I'm sure you've gained quite a lot from it. We still have more coming, again brought to you by MTN Business. The bottom line is to make your business, should we say, compliant. We used to have that Y2K compliant at some point. But I think rhyme with the times, because we are moving away, you know, from what we used to do to the digital space, to the virtual space. And MTN, as your partner, is here to give you the platform and the tools to make that a smooth transition. I've been your host, Charles Boji. Catch us again next time. We'd like to wish you a very good day and God bless.
Everywhere you go, MTN.